chat after it starts up. Let me just get that. Okay, so I'm going to share the YouTube chat with everybody in the call. All right, so if you want to watch over there, you can. Otherwise, you can stay in the Zoom chat. That's fine. It's probably better for you to stay in the Zoom chat. Because that keeps your anonymity intact. Okay, so I see that user H says I just joined. No problem. We haven't really started yet. So, okay, so let's start. So we're doing HackerFrogs After School Python Programming Basics Part 2. This is the second workshop for Intro Python Programming, and in the previous session, we learned about the following Python concepts. So we learned about the Hello World program in Python, which is the first program students write for any programming language. And we learned about the print function, which prints information to the console and is common to almost all programs written in Python. We also learned about variables. Variables are named storage locations which hold specific values, which can be referenced multiple times in a program. So here we've got a name variable, it's equal to HackerFrogs, and we've got a greetings variable equal to hello. So if we print the greetings variable plus the name variable, it's going to print out hello HackerFrogs, just like this. We also learned about data types, including strings, which are non-numeric text, integers, which are whole numbers, and floats, which are numbers which include decimal places. So basically, you just need to know that if it's a number with a decimal, then it's a float. If it's a whole number, then it's going to be an integer. And if it's something that is wrapped in double quotes or single quotes, then it's going to be a string. So in this workshop, we're going to cover the following two things. We're going to cover lists in Python, and then we're going to talk about arithmetic operations. So part one is lists. Lists are part of what Python categorizes as collections. That is, variables that hold one or more values, which can be strings or numbers or a mixture of different data types. So just like in real life, a list is a bunch of different items. So an example list in Python could look like the following. So we've got our vegetables list over here, which is carrots and lettuce and beets, or we could have our related to pi list, which is round and 3.14, which is the pi number in mathematics, and delicious, which is another word that's related to pi. So as we can see by the example, a list is defined as a number of objects separated by commas between a pair of square brackets. So just so we can get a little hands-on example of working with lists, I'm going to leave the link to the JS Linux. So everybody, please go to the JS Linux, and we're going to try out creating our own lists. So everybody, I've got the link for the JS Linux machine. Once you have the JS Linux machine loaded up and it says root at localhost over here, please type in the chat JS Linux up. Okay, we've got some people reporting JS Linux up. So everybody, after your JS Linux comes online and you see the blinking green cursor over here, what you want to do is you want to open up your Python interactive console. And the way you do that is you just type Python and hit the Enter key. And then your Python interactive console is going to appear over here. Okay, so we've got some people reporting JS Linux up. Somebody reports that it's not up. If it's not up, please reload the page. If you need the link one more time, I'll get the link for you. So I will, so that's a link for the JS Linux machine. Okay, so after you've, okay, user F says, can you do what you did one more time? So all we need to do is, so to get out of the Python interactive console, you just need to hit exit and give the parentheses over here, and that's going to get you out. What you need to do to start up the Python interactive console is just type Python and then hit the enter key. Okay, so everybody, let's create some lists instead of Python so they can play around with them. Okay, so let's make a list called fruits. So this is fruits, and we're going to do equals. So fruits equals, and then we're going to provide a pair of square brackets just like this. So the square brackets are located next to the enter key and the P key on the keyboard usually. So we're going to create a pair of them, and we're going to create some strings inside of this list. So inside the list, we're going to create a string and then a comma and then a pair of single quotes and then a comma and then a pair of single quotes. So we're going to put 3 items in this list. So maybe the fruits is going to be apples, and another fruit is going to be grapes, and another one is going to be watermelon. So basically, you can put whatever fruits you want inside of this list over here, and all you need to do is make sure that you've got the fruit surrounded by these quotes. So you need to put it inside the quotes, and then in between each item, you have to put a comma over here. So it's going to be apples inside this string right here, and then comma, and then the next one is going to be grapes, and then a comma, and then inside the quotes is your last fruit, okay? All right, so after you've done all of this, and you're ready to commit this, you just need to hit enter, and then this is going to be recorded inside of the console, okay? And in order to print this, you would print, and then inside the parentheses, you would print fruits, just like this. All right? So everybody hit print, and you should see this list right here with the 3 fruits that you put inside the list. All right? So if you're able to get the print function to print out your list of fruits, please type in the chat fruit list. So if anybody's having any problems, just remember that when you create your fruit list, you need to make sure that the names of the fruits are wrapped in these quotes over here, either the single quotes or the double quotes, and that the separate items are separated by the commas over here. Okay? All right, so I think quite a few people. So user R says, my Linux is something something. So user R, if you could be more specific about your problem, maybe we can help you out. Okay, so let's go back to the presentation. We'll talk a little bit more about lists. Where are we? Okay, so items in lists occupy ordered positions within it, called indexes. With the first item in the index 0 position, the second item in the index 1 position, etc. So this is a little bit, it can be a little bit difficult to understand, but when we're talking about items in the list, we start counting from 0. So why we start counting from 0, I'm not really sure, but we count from 0. So we can say that apple, in this case, is item number 0, and then orange is item number 1, and grapes is item number 2. Okay? And we can also refer to the individual items by specifying which index they're at. So index 0 is apple, index 1 is orange, and index 2 is grapes. So list indexing allows for the selection of specific items in a list by referring to them by the position in which they appear in the list. Okay, so let's go back to our JS Linux. Okay, and user R, were you able to get your JS Linux loaded? If it's still loading, you could try reloading the page by hitting this refresh, reload page button over here, or you could also use the F5 keyboard shortcut to do that as well. Okay, so everybody back at our JS Linux over here, we've got our lists and, sorry, we've got our list of fruits, and this should still be saved in here. We could print out fruits, but we could print out the number 0 position. And remember that the number 0 position is the first item in the list. So what this should print out is apples, in my case. In your case, if it's not apples, it's going to be whatever is in the first position over here. All right, so when we give that command, it's going to say apples. So we can also print out fruits number 2. And does anybody know which item it's going to print out in my case for fruits number 2? If you know, type it in the chat. Okay, some people are typing in the chat, and they say it is. Okay, so let's print out item number 2 in the index number 2 rather, and then it's going to print out watermelon. Okay, so the reason it prints out watermelon is because apples over here that counts as the number 0 object. Okay, so number 0, number 1, number 2. So if it's a little bit confusing, that's fine. We just need to get used to it. That when we're talking about items in the list, we have to start counting from 0. So I'm going to repeat this over and over again. If you find it a bit repetitive, I'm sorry about that. Okay, so let's continue. So to use list indexing, you're going to use the name of the list directly followed by a pair of square brackets with the index or position of the desired item inside the brackets. So it looks a lot like this. So look at the Python code above. Inside the print function, the trees list 0, index 0 is referenced. Which list item will be print output? I miswrote this, but which item is going to print out? Okay, user AD says still doing the fruit, but it said syntax error. I wonder what's up with that. Okay, so let's help out user AD for just a second. So when you create your fruits list over here, there's a couple of things you need to make sure to do. So each one of the items, you have to make sure that it's wrapped up in these quotes. So if you're using single quotes or double quotes, either is fine. And as well, between each one of these items, you need to make sure that there's a comma between the items. Okay? So why don't you try to rewrite your list and make sure that you don't get any of these syntax errors, okay? So please try one more time, user AD. Thank you very much. Okay. All right, next. So the output should be pine. Since pine is the first item on the list, note that counting positions in indexing starts from 0, not 1. In this example, trees index 2 refers to cedar. Since cedar is the number 2 item on the list, if we start counting from 0. So 0, 1, 2. Number 2 is cedar. Okay, so an important thing to remember when working with lists is that the value of items in the list can be changed after the initial assignment. Okay, so if we've got our trees over here and then we print out tree 0, then it prints out pine, just like it does over here. But if after we set the list, we can change the individual items in the list by doing this right here. So we do trees and then the index we want and then the new value. So we can set trees at the 0 position to oak, and then we print out trees at position 0, and then it types out, it's going to print out oak. So let's try this. So over at JS Linux, okay, we've got our fruits, and we've got our fruits. Let's change the last one, okay? So fruits in the last position, 0, 1, 2 is watermelon, but we want to change watermelon to something else. So we're going to do fruits and fruits 2, just like this. This refers to the third item in the fruits list. And then we're going to change it to be equal to, I don't know, let's say pineapple. Okay, so we're going to set fruits in the position number 2, sorry, index number 2, which is watermelon. We're going to set it to pineapple. We do that, and then we've printed it. We print this, we can print out the whole list. So print out fruits. And then we see it's apples and grapes and pineapple. User AD says that it says name error, name fruit is not defined. Name fruit is not defined. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is you need to make your fruits list. So first you need to create fruits. So, oh, fruit is not defined. It's supposed to be with the S. Sorry. So everybody, sometimes you might find some errors when you leave out an S or something. So what I want you to do is make sure that these lists have the S in the fruits. Okay. Okay. So everybody, if you're able to change one of the items in your fruits list and then print out the new fruits list and it has your new item in it, please type in the chat new fruit. Okay, we've got some people with new fruit in here. So I make this kind of problem. I make this kind of mistake all the time as well. So sometimes you're typing something in Python, but you forget that you included an S in the when you are creating the list or whatever it is. You just need to make sure that it's the same every time. User R says, "Can we please go back a little bit?" So user R, could you tell me where you want me to go back to? I'll try to explain quickly, just so we can move forward with class. But if you tell me where you got stuck, I'll try to help you out. Okay, so we covered how to make the list. We covered how to count inside of the list, which is counting from 0. And we talked about how we can rename things inside the list. So next we're going to talk about how to delete things from lists. Okay, so user R says the fruit list. So the first thing we do inside of this exercise here is we create the fruit list. So it's going to be fruits, and then it's going to be equal. Oh, there's some birds outside. But we want to create the fruits in our list. I'm going to make a new list. So this is going to be fruits equals a list, and it's going to be. And we know that it's a list because it's between these two square brackets. So I'm going to do kiwi, and then the second thing in the list is going to be banana, and the third thing in the list is going to be orange. Okay, but we just need to make sure that that they're wrapped up in these quotes. We've got the names of the fruits between the quotes, and we have the commas between each one of the items. Okay, so this is how we create the fruits list. Okay, so let's move on to deleting items. Oh no, we're talking about the data type. Okay, so the list is a data type as well. So we were talking about integers and strings and floats. So this is also a type of data inside of Python. A list is a type of data. So every data type in Python belongs to a corresponding class, and each instance of a class is an object. So if we were to ask about the type for this list over here, it's going to say it's a list. So next we'll talk about methods. Methods are class-specific functions. There are list methods and string methods and integer methods, and methods perform actions on the object. So if we've got a list, there's a bunch of functions, which are called methods, that we can perform with that type of object. User T asks if they can go and watch the YouTube stream. Yeah, you can go. You can definitely go ahead and watch the YouTube stream if you want to. Okay, so this is why am I talking about these methods? So we're going to be using some of these list methods to. Okay, user AD said it says that fruit is not defined with an S. So when you create your list, if you create it without an S, you have to make sure that you reference the fruit without an S every time. If you create it with the S, you have to make sure that you create it whenever you type fruits, it includes the S every time. That's what we're trying to. We just need to make sure that it's the same spelling every time. Okay, so we're talking about these methods for the list. So in this case, so user UF says they just joined and they need the link. Let me grab the link for everybody. So just in case you need the link, I'm providing it to everybody in chat one more time. Okay, so the first thing you need to do, is you need to type in the word Python. So if you're not inside the Python interactive console, and then you can't go on with the rest of the exercise. So you'll know that you're inside the Python console when you see these arrow keys right here. Sorry, these, what are these? They're greater than signs. So there should be 3 of them, and then the blinking cursor over here. So user AD, I just want you to confirm for me that you're in the Python interactive console. Okay. All right, they say that they are. And then you want to create your fruits list. You can create it just like mine over here. I don't think you can copy and paste, but I'm going to, let's see, I think I can grab this. And I will, why don't you try using this inside of your JS Linux. Okay, so we're talking about methods, right? So we've got this vegetables list right here. So we've got our carrots and our lettuce and our beets. We're going to use the method called append. So that's going to be the name of the list, vegetables, and then it's going to be dot, and then the name of the method, which is append. And then there's going to be a pair of parentheses, and then whatever we want to append, which is to add on to the end of the list, inside of the parentheses. So we want to add an item called radishes to this vegetables list. So we do vegetables.append, and then inside the parentheses, we're going to put radishes. And then when we print the vegetables list, we see that radishes has been added to the list. Okay, so everybody, let's try this. So inside of JS Linux, we've got our fruits list. What we want to do is we want to do fruits.append, and then a pair of parentheses. And then inside the parentheses, we're going to do some double quotes, and then we're going to add an item to the fruits list. Okay, and we're going to add, well, it doesn't matter. You can add whatever you like. I'm going to add, man, I'm running out of fruits. Let's say strawberry. Okay, so we add strawberry to the list with this command here. Okay, some other people are recommending some things. User F recommends raspberries and blueberries. You can go ahead and add whatever fruit you like. So fruits.append, strawberry. And then when we print fruits, then we see that strawberry has been added to the end of the list. Okay, so everybody, if you manage to add the strawberry or add whatever it is using the append method over here, so it's fruits.append, and then inside the parentheses and the double quotes, what you want to add, please type in the chat, appended. Okay, great. I see some people are appending those fruits. So I think we're going to cover how to delete things now. So methods are performed by indicating the name of the object, which is the list, and then a dot, and then the name of the method, followed by the pair of parentheses, which contain any arguments required for that method. So the append method requires that you, inside the parentheses, you put the thing that you're going to be adding over here. But other methods are going to ask that you put other things inside of these parentheses here. Okay, so the list method we used was append. Okay, in this case, we've got our friends. We have our friends list. We have Alex and Barb, and we're going to add somebody to the friends list. It's going to be Carl. And then when we print out the friends, it's going to be Alex and Barb and Carl, just like this. So next, we're going to talk about how to delete things from lists. It's going to be the del keyword. Deleting items from lists can be done in a few different ways, but if you know the list, the list index of the item that you want to delete, you can use the del keyword. So in this case, we've got our. This seems a little bit sad, but we're deleting friends, people from our friends list. So we've got our friends. We've got Alex and Barb and Carl, and in this case, we're going to delete friends at the 0 position. And everybody, once more, the 0 position is the first thing on the list. And then after we print friends, then we see that the 0 position, Alex, is no longer there. It just prints out Barb and Carl. User LC just joined the class. No worries. I understand. Yeah, school. Some students here, they've got school until a little bit later. But I'm sure you can catch up. I asked the people over at I asked the organizers about whether or not we could start up a second like a second session for HackerFrogs, but that hasn't been decided yet. But thank you very much for showing up. Okay, so we're going to practice how to use the del keyword. So that's going to be del and then the name of the list and then the position. Okay, so over at JS Linux, we're going to try deleting the second item. So remember, the second item is position 1, position 0, position 1, position 2, position 3. So we're going to do del fruits, and then we're going to do position 1, just like this, to delete the number 2 item. Okay? So del fruits 1, and then we print out the fruits. And then we see that this item that we specified is no longer here. Okay? All right, so let's move on. I just want to make sure that we have enough time to do the exercises at the end. So let's cover the next few exercises on the learnpython.org website. So we're using this website over here. So I'm going to provide the link in chat. Everybody, please navigate to that link. And when you have loaded up that link. And you see this web page loaded up. Please type in the chat, Python site up. Okay. All right. So we're talking about lists. And so in this first window over here, we see that my list is, I think it's big enough for everybody to see. All right, that's much bigger. So we've got my list, which is equal to an empty list. So you can create a list that is empty. That's perfectly fine. But inside, and then afterwards on line 2, we're going to append the number 1. So remember that the append method for lists is going to add an object to the end of the list. So we add the number 1, and then we add the number 2, and then we add the number 3. And then on line 5, it's going to print my list object 0, which is going to print 1, and then 1, and then 2, and it's going to print these things. So we also have a for loop over here. So we're going to talk a little bit about this list, about these for loops later. You don't need to pay too much attention to this. You just need to know that it's going to print out 1, 2, 3, and then it's going to print out 1, 2, 3. So you can click on the run button over here. Then it prints out 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So if there's anything that you don't understand about any of the stuff that we're talking about, please let us know in the chat, and we'll try to help you out. So over here in the next window, it says accessing an index that does not exist generates an exception, and that was known as an error. So we've got our list over here. It's got 0, 1. So they've got a 0 position, a 1 position, and a 2 position. But if we try to print out the number 10 position here, then it's going to give an error. So somebody needs a link to the website. Let me provide that person with a link to the website. Okay, there you go. Okay, so we try to run this. And then it's going to give you an error. It says list index out of range. So out of range means that that index doesn't exist. So remember that the items in the list are called indexes. So this is index 0, this is index 1, this is index 2. And if we try to print something that's out of the range of the indexes, then it's not going to let you. Okay, user H says, I have to go to practice. All right, if you need to leave, that's fine. You can always come back to the video later and catch up on whatever we did later, okay? All right, so we have this exercise here. In this exercise, we're going to need to add numbers and strings to the correct list using the append method, okay? You must add the numbers 1, 2, and 3 to the numbers list, and we add the words hello and world to the strings variable. Okay, so I think, should we? No. We're going to skip this exercise because we need a little bit more time to talk about arithmetic stuff. But if you want to come back to this exercise and try it out, you can definitely come back to this webpage and try out the exercise over here, okay? But we're going to be moving on to the second portion of today's lesson, which is about how to do math inside of Python. But first, we're going to have a little quiz. So which of the following statements about Python lists is true? So we have A, B, C, and D. One of these is true. If you think you know which one is true, type the letter in the chat, please. Okay, we've got some different answers. Okay, user R says, can you please go back to the web shell? Okay, we can go back to the web shell for a little bit after we finish this question. So the answer here is counting items in the list starts from 0, not 1. So this is the answer here. So when printing items in the list, all items in the list must be printed. So you can print individual items from the list. B, it's not possible to add items in the list after list creation. We can certainly do that. And D, items in the list cannot be changed after they've been added. This is not true either. Okay, so for user R, we're going to go back to the Python console over here. User R, what did you need to do? What did you need to want? What did you want to see over at the web shell? So we've got our lists of fruits over here. Print out the fruits. We can use the del keyword to delete things from the fruits list over here, and we can use the append method to add things to the list. So if there is something specific about what we did inside the web shell, let me know and I'll explain how we did that, okay? All right, so, the fruits append, right. Okay, so so what you do is you type out the name of the list, which is fruits, and then you do a dot and then append, which is the name of the method, and then we do a pair of parentheses. Inside the parentheses, you want to put some double quotes because we're putting in the string, and the string is whatever fruit you want to add to the fruits list over here, okay? If you're still having problems with this, we'll handle it after the session is over, okay? All right, so let's move on to the next question. So we've got one more question in the quiz. So which of the following code will add a string item, apple, to the list named fruits? So which one of these is going to add apple to the fruits list? Is it A, B, C, or D? Okay, so the answers are in, and the answer is B. So we were just talking about the append method. This is how we're going to add the string item apple to the list named fruits. So it's fruits dot append, and then in the parentheses, put in the string apple. Okay, all right, so we're doing basic operators. So when we talk about operators, we're talking about these symbols right here. So the plus symbol or the equal symbol, the minus symbol, these are called operators instead of Python. In programming terms, operators are used to perform an operation on a piece of data. So in this lesson, we're going to learn about basic arithmetic operators that are used for mathematical addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, and a couple others. So Python uses the following operators or symbols for basic arithmetic. So these are a little bit different from what you learned in math class. So the addition and the subtraction are the same, but you use the star for multiplication. So if you want to do x times y, you have to use the star symbol. For division, you use the slash symbol. So it's going to be x divided by y using slash. And if we're going to do exponentiation, which is basically to the power of 2 or to the power of 3 or whatever, it's going to be x to the power of y using these two stars right here. So these are the symbols we use for math inside of Python. So the arithmetic operations that occur in Python follow the PEMDAS order of operations. So you might have, when you were learning math, you might have been talking about PEMDAS, which is parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. Or you might have learned a different system that used a different set of words. But this is what I learned, so I'll teach you about this. So first, everything inside of parentheses in the math equation is solved first, and then all the exponents, and then multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction in that order. So if we've got this this long list of operations over here, the first thing that happens is that everything inside of parentheses is resolved first, and then the exponent operation, which is this one right here, is done. And then third, we're going to do the multiplication. So it's going to be this part, and then this part, and then this part. So this next slide assumes that this has already been resolved. Okay, user WW says, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Okay. I I wasn't taught that, but whatever helps you memorize it is completely fine. So the next thing that's done is division. Here it's 8 divided by 4. Fifth, the addition is resolved, and then finally the subtraction is resolved, which sets our final result to 0. So we can actually do this math inside of Python. So I'm going to copy this and put it in the chat. And we're going to try to do this one inside of Python. So in Python over here, we're going to do, so inside the parentheses, it's 4 divided by 2. Oh, we're going to type this all out first, and then we're going to put a big print operation around it. So times 2 to the power of 2 divided by 4 plus 2 minus 4. Okay, so this is what we want to do, but we need to print this. So we're going to do print and then 1 parentheses, and then we're going to do the second parentheses over here, okay? So I'm going to include this in the chat. Oh, the print didn't, darn it. Okay, let me, it doesn't let me highlight it. User F asks, can you go and watch the YouTube live stream? Yes, you can certainly go do that. Oh, user TB the star says, I learned BODMAS. BODMAS is probably very similar to PEMDAS, but it's probably does about the same thing. So okay, so we're going to print this out, and then it's going to give us a result which is 0.0. So why does it say 0.0? Well, it's for some reason whenever we do division inside of Python, it's going to give us a decimal result, but the math is done regardless, so it's fine. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more. So the next one we're going to learn about is the modulo operation. So modulo is a little bit different than. So I think some of you haven't been talking about modulo inside of your math classes because it's part of I think it's part of calculus. So a modulo operation returns the remainder after one number is divided by another. The resulting number after a modulo operation is called the modulus. So it's going to be whatever number is the remainder after division. So 5 divided by 2 is going to give you 2, but the remainder is going to be 1. So the modulo in this case is 1. 8 divided by 5. After division is done, the remainder is going to be 3. So 3 is the modulo in this case. So a typical use for the modulo operation is to determine whether a number is even or odd by performing a modulo operation on it with the number 2. If the result is 1, the number is odd. And if the result is 0, then the number is even. So we can do this. User AO asks, Hi, I just joined. Can you send the link that we're using? Yeah. So we're mostly using this JS Linux over here. So I'm going to send JS Linux to everybody one more time. Okay. So I'm just going to exit. I'm just going to exit out of here real quick. And whoops. I wish there were some sort of option inside of Python to go back up to the top of the screen. Okay, so let's try the modulo operation, everybody. So it's going to be print, and then it's going to be 2 modulo 2. So everybody, what do you think is going to be the what do you think is going to be printed out after this operation is done? So is this going to what number is going to come out? Okay, some people are answering. So this is basically 2 divided by 2 and get the remainder. So some people are saying that the answer is going to be 0. So this is 0 over here. But what if we do this? So is the answer going to be 0 or 1 or 2? So if those are the options, is it going to be 0 or 1 or 2? So the answer is it's going to divide by 2, and it's going to get the remainder after the division is done. So the answer is also going to be 0. Okay? And what happens if we do this? What's the answer now? So the answer in this case is that 11 divided by 2, that's going to be 5, but there's going to be 1 left over. So that 1 is going to be the answer here. So it only takes the remainder. It doesn't matter how many times where it evenly divides. It's only interested in the remainder after this is done. Okay, so let's move on. So we've got a basic operators exercise. We're going to skip the basic operators exercise, but if you're interested in doing more math with Python, I will give you a link. Hold on. So this one is basic operators. So if you're interested in playing around a little bit more with Python and math, then this is the link you want to go to. But what we want to do right now is we're going to try solving a couple of more challenges using Python in picoctf. But before we do that, we're going to learn about one more thing. So hold on. We're going to learn about this character function. So this CHR, or character function, is going to be used to convert numbers to their Unicode equivalents. So if this word Unicode seems a little bit foreign, that's fine. Unicode encoding is what lets computers turn bytes into letters and numbers for the monitors and other things displays. So for example, if we run the CHR function with the number 65, the result will be the uppercase letter A. So what are we talking about right here? We're talking about encoding. And so for example, we've got our ASCII encoding over here. And if this seems a little bit foreign, that's fine. What I want you to understand is that everything that it prints out on your screen has to be interpreted by the computer, and they have to get a certain code in order to print out anything on the screen, right? So for example, we're talking about ASCII, and ASCII is a pretty old encoding standard. And for example, if you do the number 65 in ASCII, then that's going to correspond with the uppercase A over here. But of course, you could count using hexadecimal, which is base 16 counting, and that's also going to get you the letter A. Or you could do, so everybody on this chart over here, it's basically a bunch of numbers that correspond with letters and numbers as well. Okay, so we're going to cover this a little bit more inside of the PicoCTF challenge, but just keep in mind that this function right here is going to transform numbers into letters and numbers. Okay. All right, so let's do our PicoCTF challenges. So the first challenge of the day is going to be the so I've seen some users in the YouTube chat. Hello to you in the YouTube chat. Okay, and the first challenge of the day is going to be the fixme.py. It's this challenge right here. I'm going to provide this to everybody in chat. Okay, and for this challenge, we're going to need to use our web shell. So let's open up our web shell. So click on the web shell, and then we're going to put this in its own browser tab with this button right here. And then we're going to have to type in our password. Let me grab my password real quick. Okay, I'm going to paste in my password, and now I'm in. Okay, everybody, let's create a directory called fixme1. So it's going to be, so first of all, I'm going to make sure that this doesn't exist. Okay, it doesn't. So we're going to create a directory called fixme1, and then we're going to enter that directory. Is it fixme1 or 2? So that's going to be fixme1. And if you're in your web shell and you've created the fixme1 directory and you're in there, please type in the chat, ready to go. Let me, okay, so this is fixme1. I will provide the link to the challenge one more time. Okay, so inside the challenge page over here, you're going to see this download link over here. You're going to right click on it and then select copy link address. And then you're going to go back to your web shell and download the file. So to download the file, it's going to be wget, and then right click, select paste, and then hit enter. Okay, and that's going to download the fixme1.py file. So we've got fixme1.py. What I want you to do is I want you to, let's try running the file. So it's going to be Python space and then fixme1.py. So when you try running that, it's going to say that is correct. Here's your flag plus flag. And then it's going to say indentation error, unexpected indent. User Elsie asks, what do we do to create the Python file? So to create the Python file, we need to download it. So remember over at the challenge page, there's a download link. So you need to right click on that, select copy link address, and then go to your web shell and download it using wget. Okay? All right, so the problem here is that there's an indentation error, so we're not able to print out the flag. So let's use nano to edit the file. So it says on this line right here, there's an indent. So we need to fix it. So we're going to go to nano and then fixme1.py. Okay, so we don't need to fix anything else in the code. We just need to go down to the We just need to go down to the end of the code over here, and we need to fix this. It says there's an indent here. We need to eliminate the indent. All we need to do is press backspace twice or delete twice, and we're going to make sure that there's no spaces there. So that gets rid of the indent. All we need to do then is save the file, Control X, and then press Y, and then press Enter. So if anybody's having some, so let me demonstrate that one more time. So after we've finished editing the file, it's going to be Control X. Hold on, so it's Control X to exit. It's going to ask you to save the modified buffer, press Y, and then press Enter to confirm the name. Okay, so user D, we will talk, if you need help with this challenge, we'll talk about it a little more after the session is over, okay? All right, so the last thing you need to do is you need to run the file again. So it's going to be python fixme1.py. If you fixed the indentation error right here and eliminated these two spaces inside the code, then it should print out the flag, okay? So it says that is correct, here's your flag. So everybody, let's copy the flag and then go over to the challenge page and then paste in the flag and then click on submit. Okay. All right, so we're going to do one more challenge, and this is going to be a quick one, and then we're going to finish out the session. And the second challenge is going to be glitch cat. So this is the glitch cat challenge, and I'll provide it to everybody in chat. Okay, so the glitch chat challenge over here, we need to click on launch instance over here. It says this challenge launches an instance on demand. Its current status is not running. So just click on the blue button for launch instance. And then after a couple of seconds, we're going to get a command over here. It says our flag printing service has started glitching. So what you need to do is you need to copy this command right here. You don't need to include the $sign. Right click and copy. So this is a netcat command, which is going to communicate with the server on this port. And then you go over to your web shell. So at the web shell, we're going to paste in the command. Okay, so it's right click paste. So this is going to communicate with the server on this port, and it's going to give us the flag, but the flag is not going to be usable. You will see, you'll see. So paste in your command and then press enter. And then it gives us this right here. So it's the beginning of a flag, and then it's a bunch of these CHR functions. So CHR this, CHR that, and there should be about 8 of them. What we want to do is we want to copy this. Okay, so after we're done copying it, so copy. After we're done copying this, we can do Control C to unstick our terminal. So what do you think we should do? So we know that this CHR function is a Python function. What do you think we should do to solve this challenge? So we can't submit this flag as it is because this is not the format that we're looking for. So user WW says run it in Python. So that's exactly what we want to do. So each time the Python, when we run it in Python, when it sees this function right there, it's going to change this into a letter. So it's going to change this into the letter that's associated with 0x62, which is, I don't know, something. And then it's going to run it on this one, and then this one, and this one. And it's going to include everything, and then we're going to get our actual flag. So how can we run this inside of Python? We can actually use the Python in the Python console inside of our web shell as well. So over here, we can just type Python, and then we can paste in this flag right here. So we can't just run it like this. We need to do something else to this before we can run it. What do you think we should do before we can run this? We need to run it with another function, but which function is that? If you know, type it in chat. Otherwise, I'll explain it in just a moment or two. So somebody says nano. We could put this in nano first, but actually we don't need to. So what we need to do, if we're just running this inside of the console here, is to just use the print function. So it's going to be print and then the opening parentheses, and then at the end, we're going to put the closing parentheses. So it's going to be print, opening parentheses, and then the content, and then at the end, the closing parentheses. We need to add that. And then when we run that, then we're going to get the whole flag, and then all of these characters have been interpreted for us, and they're going to be added just like this. Okay? So everybody, if you manage to do that, what I want you to do is copy the flag, and then go over to the GlitchCat challenge page and paste in the flag and click on submit. Okay. All right. So if anybody's having trouble with either of the two challenges, I'll explain. If you need help after the session is over, I'll help you out after the session is over. We just need to give the summary for what we learned in today's session, and the people who don't need help, they can leave the session. Okay, so the summary. So what do we do in today's? Oh, you know what, everybody? So there was another exercise that we were supposed to do that is talking about pizza toppings, and if you want to do that, you can find it at the following link. So I've got the notes, and I put it on my GitHub this time. And it's got this exercise over here. What I want you to try to do is I want you to try running this this program inside of either your JS Linux or inside of your picoctf web shell. And please do that before the start of the next class, okay? So it's going to be at this link right here. Let me provide the link to everybody. Okay. So everybody should have access to the link. The exercise that we're talking about is at the very end of the file. Okay. So let's do a summary of what we learned today, and then everybody that doesn't need help, they can leave. So let's talk about what we learned. We talked about lists, which are variables with one or more items associated with them. Items in the list can be referenced by a process called list indexing. So, and we talked about basic operators, which are used to perform arithmetic operations. So we didn't talk very much about basic operators. So if you want to know more about using basic operators instead of Python, you can definitely go to the Learn Python page, which is over here, and they'll talk a little bit more about using mathematics in Python. So what's next? We're going to learn about the following things in the next workshop. We're going to talk about string formatting, string methods, and string splicing. So this is basically getting a bunch of different output from our strings. And I'll teach you about how to incorporate strings with print statements and print functions and all sorts of other fun stuff like that. All right, so to everybody who does not need help, please feel free to leave the session, but please bear in mind that we're going to be back on Wednesday. So Wednesday, that's going to be August the 14th at the same time. But if you don't need more help for this session, please feel free to leave. But thank you very much for attending class. Okay, I'm going to stop